Are you force sensitive? You'll find out right after this. Hey everybody, I am Taylor from Beard vs. Geek, where I show you it is okay to be a man and a geek at the same time. Today we are back in the Star Wars universe, one of my favorite universes, and we are talking about whether or not you are force sensitive. Now, we all know that Star Wars took place in a galaxy far, far away in a time long, long ago, but we also know that there is a connection between Earth and the Star Wars universe. For that, there's a couple of videos that other YouTubers made, links in the description down below. They're actually pretty cool ones. Now, this brings us to whether or not you are force sensitive. Now, there's a big difference between being force sensitive and being a force user. For example, force sensitive people just means that you can sense the force and you can feel those disturbances. Now, a force user can actually manipulate the force in order to achieve things. For example, getting a lightsaber out of the snow, or hovering things, or doing all sorts of that cool lightning hands things that force users often do. We need to know whether or not you can sense the force. Now, we do know that the force is in all living things, and we know that from several instances in the original trilogy, but it was mainly talked about how, the specifics of it, in Star Wars Episode 1 with Qui-Gon Jinn and with midichlorians. Now, I know a lot of you don't like the subject of midichlorians, you just reject them and you want the Force to be purely like a spiritual thing, but the fact is that midichlorians were something that George Lucas was thinking about and was conceiving since 1977, and it just came out in his 99 movie, so deal with it. So what are midichlorians? Well, in short, it's a microscopic being that lives inside cells, but don't just take my word for it, take that of a Jedi Master Qui-Gon Jinn.
Midichlorians are a microscopic life form that resides within all living cells.
They live inside me.
Inside your cells, yes. And we are symbionts with them.
Now, Padawan learners and younglings that the Jedi Council takes into training to become Force users need to have a above average midichlorian count. And in order to prove that, they do blood tests. And that's exactly what Qui-Gon Jinn was doing with Anakin in that scene. Now, we do know that Anakin has the most amount of midichlorians out there ever. This brings us to the point where in the Star Wars universe, there has to be some sort of cutoff line between the blood test and the Jedi Council, where anybody who has the midichlorian count of that much or greater will be trained unless they're old, like Anakin. But anyone who has less than that amount will not be trained. So there could be a gray area between above average, but yet below the cut of where the Jedi Council will take that child away from his family and raise them in a monk-like environment. So therefore, that could lead us to people like Chirrut Imwe, who is depicted in Star Wars Rogue One, who was around during the time of the Jedi Council and who has clear signs that he is force sensitive. For example, shooting a moving TIE fighter out of the air with one shot, and doing a bunch of other things. Now, in the visual guides of Star Wars A Rogue One, it does say that Chirrut Imwe was practicing all sorts of martial arts in order to improve his senses. It is very conceivable that he has above average midichlorian count, but below what the Jedi Council would take. So he was able to tap into that above averageness with this form of martial art, and he was force sensitive. At least force sensitive enough to, I don't know, take out a dozen stormtroopers single-handedly with a stick and shoot out a TIE fighter from within the air and, I don't know, dodge blaster bolts all the freaking time. And a key part of his training was using the mantra, I am the Force is with me.
I'm one with the Force is with me. I'm one with the Force is with me.
Now, Chirrut Imwe sets a great precedence for you and for me. It means that if we have a above average midichlorian count, we can potentially tap into that with our own self-taught training in order to improve our reflexes and to feel and kind of use the Force. However, those tactics are not going to be fully developed unless you have a lot of midichlorians and are formally trained by the Jedi. Now, we will never be at the point where we're pulling out lightsabers out of the snow and levitating things, well, most likely. But we'd be able to improve our reflexes and do those kind of awesome things that Chirrut Imwe does in Star Wars Rogue One. But let me know in the comments down below what you think about whether or not you and I can become Force sensitive and how we might achieve that. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe. Great videos like this are coming out twice a week where I show you it is okay to be a man and a geek at the same time. If you like Star Wars, you can click on these two videos right here, or you can go to the channel page and check out a bunch of manly videos. Because after all, if the women don't find you manly, they should at least find you geeky. And until next time, don't go shaving on me.